Welcome back to the Bronx Buzz. Now joining us is publisher and editor Stephanie Young to discuss the latest issue of Vellum magazine. Stephanie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So to start off, for those who don't know, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, I'm a publisher, editor, curator of Vellum magazine, and what I mainly do is I publish a magazine about young emerging artists, and I also curate shows, um, with a lot of the artists that I feature in the magazine.
Awesome. So, for once again for the audience who may not know, can you describe in detail Vellum magazine? You describe it as art scene for the masses. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people view art as kind of like this elitist, very closed secret society type of thing.
Mhm.
And I wanted to take that away, demystify art because I come from a music background. So, a little later on in my career, I stopped doing music and then I started doing Vellum. So I wanted to, have the same type of mass appeal that music has, but with artists.
That's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about issue number 27?
Yeah, issue 27 just came out, and again, I'm a curator, so it actually is almost a catalog of a show I just did at Bronx River Arts Center called Keep It in Fiction. So I catalog that, install shots, and I also have pictures of each of the pieces that were in the exhibition.
That's awesome. So what piqued your interest and inspired you to choose this particular show for this issue?
Well, I do a lot of curatorial projects in the magazine. So I wanted to, because this was a big show for us, for Vellum artists. So I wanted to document it. So that's pretty much why I wanted to feature the show I just did at BRAC.
Tell me a little bit about, when you went to the show. What was the atmosphere like? What was the environment like?
Well, I was the curator of the
Mhm.
show, so it was actually fabulous. It's a beautiful space and great staff there. So it was a great win-win situation for me and all the artists.
That's awesome. So, Vellum's articles are written in a non-critical format that focuses on the artist's studio practice. For
Mhm.
our audience, can you elaborate a little bit more on what that means?
Well, a lot of art writing, or they call it art criticism, is breaking down with using art theories to basically talk about a person's art. I was more interested in just focusing on the process of the artist and how they create their work. So, I mean, I do critiquing also, but I do both.
Yeah, awesome. And I think that's a great way to, build up artists, build up their work, where, a lot of times you focus more on the feeling that you get and not necessarily the technical skills. So it's nice to have a balance of both. That's really great. And Vellum is geared toward not only art connoisseurs, but everyday people who, may not be exposed to art. So can you tell me, how do you gear your magazine towards both audiences without alienating one specific audience, whether it's too much content or a lack thereof?
Well, because I come from a journalistic background, I kind of write my articles more informative opposed to critiquing. Even though as I've gone on this journey, I've been doing Vellum since 2005.
Mhm.
I do more, because I learn more and more about the art. So I do more critiquing now, but, a lot of interviews I do and that type of thing.
That's great. So, why do you feel like it's important to expose everyday people to contemporary art?
Because I think art is an important part of our culture. And I think it really, once people get into art, it can enrich their lives, beyond, you know, anything.
Mhm. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about your process when you're writing an issue, what
Mhm.
what goes into it from the brainstorming concept all the way to, getting the issue out?
Well, in the art world, a lot of times it's a lot of word of mouth. Someone might say, "Oh, this a friend of mine's a really good artist," or you go to open studios. They have open studios where artists have their studios probably once or twice a year in various neighborhoods and stuff like that. So, I find artists, everywhere. And I also have open calls. So that means I'll have a call in like NIFA classified if I'm looking for a specific type of work or whatever.
Hmm. So, within the 27 issues and, you were discussing your open calls, tell me a little bit about some pieces of work that have stood out to you.
Oh, there's so many pieces that stand out to me. It's hard just to pick one.
Hmm.
I actually, I really, I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, if you want to talk about the artist that's on the current cover, Marcy Braffman, that's actually a GIF, meaning she created a drawing digitally and then, on a digital format, and then she made it a GIF, meaning, it moved a little, and then she sells it as an NFT. But she's originally a painter, and her process is a lot about popular culture and that type of thing.
That's interesting. If you have an idea, can you tell me a little bit about the reception that you get back from your readers?
Yeah, I mean, people are just so happy that someone is covering the arts kind of in a DIY underground way. Again, art, people see art and it does tend to be sometimes a little elitist or
Mhm.
there's like a small society. So I wanted to break away from that. So yeah, people love it because it's more accessible, I think.
Absolutely. And on the topic of, accessibility, what kind of impact do you think art and contemporary art has on people?
I just think that, art enriches your life beyond belief because it's all about imagination and breaking boundaries and looking past what situation you might be in or so I think it's a great thing that we have art and we need to have more art in schools and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Art in schools is huge. We need to bring that back between performing arts, visual arts. I think that's what's really going to help give these children a well-rounded curriculum.
Definitely.
And on the topic of, bringing out the arts, do you have any open calls or anything coming up?
Yeah. Every issue I do have an open call, a curatorial project that I do in the magazine, and people could find that on NIFA classified. That'll happen in about a month or so. I'll put the call out.
Awesome. And when you do these open calls, what exactly do you look for if there's any criteria?
Well, if I have a theme, which I normally do, then artists who feel they're appropriate for the theme answer the call. And basically, I look for something unique, something maybe I haven't seen before.
Hmm. That's awesome. So, in the coming issues of Vellum, what are your hopes? Whether it's a hope for the reader, a hope for you, what does that look like?
I just want to really get out there, like I have been. We basically have a lot of exposure at art fairs and the different shows that I curate. So I'll be doing Volta, New York coming up. So that's something that, if people are interested in going to a great art fair, they could find us there, as well as the magazine, not just me.
That's great. So as you continue to travel throughout New York, looking at different art pieces, do you ever see that there's like a common theme between every area or?
Not really. I mean, because there are themes in art that people grab onto, like a lot of the LGBTQ issues are really big in art right now, or climate, that type of thing, more so generally, not so much neighborhood by neighborhood. I see trends.
Okay. And even though you do travel a lot in person, do you think that social media has also helped people put their art out there and maybe declassify it a little bit?
Definitely. I think, like 5 years ago, you would never really sell art online, because people want to see it in person. Now, I've actually sold work online. And to me, that's, it's amazing. It's just progress. It's just the way our society is moving.
Yeah, for sure. And as an artist yourself, what are your hopes to kind of continue with the artwork aside from the magazine?
My thing with Vellum has always been I really want to find the best unknown underground artists out there. So
Hmm.
and I will continue that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say underground, can you explain a little bit for our audience?
Sure, underground means they don't have formal gallery representation, or they haven't been as, recognized as maybe they should have been, or,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of politics too that go along with art. It's not just about being a good artist. So,
Yeah, gallery representation, that's actually really interesting. Can you speak a little bit on that for our viewers?
I really can't because it's just, a lot of representation is, like a gallerist, galleries, preference, what they like, what their collectors like.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much all I could speak on that.
Right, so there's no, like, particular way of getting into it. It's kinda like you get in, you get in kinda thing?
If they like your work, that's how you get in, that's kind of like, the only way. There's really no other criteria. It's just, to me, it's just someone's personal preference, what they like and what their collectors are interested in.
That's understandable as art is subjective, so, it does make sense
It
in a way.
is.
But how can people stay in touch with Vellum?
Well, you could find, I'm on social media, Instagram, at Vellum Mag. You could find me, and you could find my website, vellumartscene.com, and you could follow me there.
I'd like to thank Stephanie Young for joining us on today's program, as well as Professor Markey and her students for the investigative work they've done for the Bronx, as well as the audience for watching. And guess what? That's right, we'll be back next week. Stay safe.